Feeling the rhythm? Well, there's a Plain White Tees and Mike Barrett joining us. We mentioned good policies. It is a weekly chat at this time. Mike, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I am well. Barrett Insurance on board with us here. Not a bad day yesterday, huh?
No, man, that was awesome. That was
Not
awesome.
a bad day on Sunday either.
You know, and all winter long, as cold as it was and as miserable as it was, my son every day was like, let's go outside. Let's go outside. Yesterday, we're outside. Let's go inside. Let's go inside. Like,
I'm too
what
hot.
are you doing, buddy? Come on. We're staying outside.
Yeah, it was definitely gorgeous.
Yeah.
We'll get some rain today, no big deal. We talk about the insurance industry out there, folks. It's pretty dang complex. There's a lot of facets to it.
Yeah. A lot of moving parts, a lot of information, a lot of misinformation.
And that's
a
why
lot
we
of
do
the
this.
game of telephone, people talking to a friend who talks to another friend who then 40 friends later has a totally different story. It happens. It's
It
what we
does.
live in. Yeah.
So we bring you good information on policies. And if I remember correctly, there's only been once, maybe two times in all the times you've been coming in that we talked about life insurance.
Yeah, life insurance is something that we picked up not because we wanted to pound the pavement and start just writing a ton of life insurance policies. That's not why we did it. But we recognized that there was a need to serve our existing clients with life insurance products. And so we went through the process of looking for the appropriate appointments, and one actually happened to just fall in our laps, which was pretty awesome. So we actually write directly with Auto Owners Insurance, which is a company that actually acquired a Concord Group, or has a relationship with Concord Group Insurance of Concord, New Hampshire. So we write primarily with them, but I also have access to about a dozen other companies. And life insurance is really, you know, being a guy who has done property and casualty for as long as I have. And property and casualty, if you don't know what that is, that's the insurance that covers everything from homes to autos to business, workers' comp and flood and all that. Life insurance, boy, you know, the underwriting factors, everything involved with it is just such a different thing. It tends to be a little bit morbid in terms of the discussions that you're having.
Well, you have
but
to
what's
think
the
about
one
dying.
peril of a life insurance policy is death.
Right.
So you're talking about how can I, or what should I do to protect my family if something happens, even unexpectedly,
How about,
and I perish?
okay, it's simple enough to do. Not if,
Yeah.
when it
yeah,
happens.
right.
We're going to die. It's inevitable.
Right. So there's different stages of your life where different types of life insurance policies are appropriate or not appropriate for, and we're talking primarily because of the cost involved. You know, somebody such as me, I'm a 43-year-old man. I'm not the epitome of health. I'm not a skinny mini. I'm not Mr., you know, go out and
Work out.
Yeah. So luckily I have picture perfect blood pressure. Yay. Don't know how I did that. That's just genetic. But if I was to say to myself, and I like using myself as the best example for life insurance because I think it really applies. Not because of me being 43, but because of my situation in life. So I have a business that I own with my wife. I have a house that my wife and I have. We have vehicles. We have a 5-year-old son. We have a 5-year-old son who I would like to think would go to college. I want his life to be everything I want it to be if I'm here, even if I'm not here. So the process that I went through to try to understand how to get my life insurance policy is, what do I feel would be necessary and prudent for covering my death expenses, keeping my life and my wife and my son in our house, I should say, not my house, because truth be told, it's her house.
It's all right.
Let's be
It's
honest. But I get to live there, which is pretty awesome. But I want them to be able to sustain life. I want them to be able to not suffer any more than already me being gone. You know, and the same case for my wife, because we got a life insurance policy many years ago for her as well. Same scenario. So you start thinking about, well, how much would it take? What's the monetary figure here that we need to think about that would be appropriate? And then you start looking at options. Should I go for somebody like me? I'm not going to go for a whole life policy. Whole life policy, you know, it looks at you being 110 years old, you know, as being the mortality. So it's going to go for your whole life, and it's going to have some cash value growing with it. But as you look at the cost of it, is it going to make sense for you? Not necessarily at this age. Maybe if you're in your 20s. Certainly, if you're in your younger years, a whole life policy is not a bad thing to look at. But for me, a term policy makes perfect sense. It's not the best analogy, but it's one that I came up recently. Consider a whole life policy. You're buying the car, you know, so
Right.
You've got the payment with the car. Consider the term policy a lease. you know,
right. Okay,
you're not going to have it forever. It's going to go away, but
Well-
hopefully, it's going to be there for the window of time that you need it most.
Well, in a term policy, the way I'm understanding what you just said, because like a lot of our listeners out there, I don't know much about life insurance whatsoever, so I'm learning with them.
Sure.
Is a term policy is probably most fitting for most folks because life changes. You get your life insurance policy in your 20s and you're not married yet, da-da-da-da-da. Right. And then you do get married, and then you get kids, and something happens. So the end of the policy, you rewrite it, get a new one, right?
Right. The problem with that, though, is that your life insurance policy, one of the primary rating factors is your age.
Okay.
So, and as you age, your health can change too.
Right.
And your weight can change, So there's different underwriting factors that determine what the appropriate cost of this policy would be. And as you get older, that's why a whole life policy can be pretty attractive. Wouldn't you love to pay for X amount of dollars of death benefit rated based on your 20s? When you're in your 50s.
Yeah, true. True.
So for me, I got my life insurance policy quite a few years ago, and I did a 30-year term. For term policies, you can do 10, 20, 30-year terms. You can do all kinds of riders and endorsements that I won't get into this morning to over-inundate what we're discussing, but there's different ways to really take advantage of what's available. So things such as guaranteed renewability, where you don't need to have a medical exam to, so maybe you did a 10-year policy at 43 and at 53, you don't necessarily need to have another medical exam to, you'll just pay the new rate of being a 53-year-old versus your current medical status, I suppose, or weight status, if you want to call it that. So it's things to think about. One of the things that I love doing, and we've done quite a bit of, is writing them from children. My father bought a ton of little life policies for me when I was a kid. I still have them all. I shouldn't say ton, I have 3. But that's pretty good. And that's awesome. It's a whole life policy that'll go with me for the rest of my life. It costs next to nothing because my dad bought it when I was a kid. So one of the things I like to do is look and see what maybe a 6, 7, 8-year-old child in that range, or even younger or older, might be for a whole life policy. And some of those policies have the ability to increase the limit of death benefit at specific times in their life. Up to 4 different times with some companies. At the age of 25 and 27 and 32, you can just increase the death benefit. So it's something to think about. Really, the biggest crux of it all is how would your family's life change with you gone?
Well, obviously,
that's got to be the discussion that you have with yourself, with your family.
The first impact is obviously going to be financially. It's going to be the money of it, all right? So, the way I'm looking at it here real quick, and we don't have a ton of time, is let's just say I'm planning to have my wife and my kids taken care of no less than 10 years. So I'd sit down, I'd figure out what my 10-year salary income would be.
Yep.
The policy would be as close to that as possible because hopefully within 10 years, let's say, for an example, my son was 8, he's 18 years old, and I can go out and start contributing.
Right.
Okay. Are these ways to look at it?
These are ways to look at it. Think about how much your mortgage is. Think about if you own a business and how much your business loans are. If you don't own a business, think about your other debts that you have, your other liabilities that are out there. What are your hopes, dreams, and what are the things that you want your children to have the most? Whether they do it or not is neither here nor there, but if you hope that they're going to go to college and they're not college age yet, consider that as part of your what you're thinking of for a death benefit. We're talking, should you have anywhere from $100,000 to $1 million, And that's when you start really going into the life policies, that's when you look back at some of those movies and you see people going, I'm worth more dead than alive. Well, yes, you are, So things to think about. It's usually the first thing people drop when things get tight with money, and the last thing people buy. But honestly, truth be told, if you're smart about how you get it, it should be a price that makes it so you never waver on it.
Right. So there's some good information on good health insurance policies.
Life insurance.
And health insurance.
It's
your health we're talking about.
Okay, fine.
The extent of your life.
There you go.
Tell them how to get in touch with you.
Give us a call, 748-5224. Visit our website, thebarrettagency.com. We're on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury. YouTube, Facebook, and Google. Wow, I almost forgot Google. All Barrett Insurance Agency.
And, of course, at Magic on Tuesday mornings at 8:35.
I'm going to sip my coffee now.
Music from